all right. As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend, and you are my brother, even though you are a king. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. I want you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are the real joy giver and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. Next, we're going to sing There Is a Habitation. We'll sing all 4 verses. It's not the right one.
What number?
660. There is a habitation built by the living God for all of every nation who seek
gates to see, O Zion, lovely Zion, when shall I dwell in thee? No night is there, no sorrow, no death and no decay, no yesterday, no morrow, but one eternal day. O Zion, lovely Zion, I long thy gates to see, O lovely Zion, lovely Zion, when shall I dwell in thee? Within its pearly portals, angelic armies sing, with glorified immortals, the praises of its King. O Zion, lovely Zion, I long thy gates to see, O lovely Zion, lovely Zion, when shall I dwell in thee?
I mentioned Jason Helton last session, and just want to throw his name out to you as somebody who has been helpful in my studies of this and prepping for this workshop, this seminar. I said that he came to Calvert a few weeks ago and did a seminar on his digital Babylon stuff, and it was all very good. And so I want to thank him, and I don't want to go any further without saying that a lot of what I'm able to talk about is thanks to his studies and him allowing me to use some of that, especially a lot of those statistics and data and graphs that you saw so far this morning. I saw in his and was so impacted. I thought, man, I got to share that with some others. I don't know what kind of games you play. We've already talked about a variety of things between golf and football and basketball. There was a game that I played a few years ago with a youth group that I worked with in Cookeville called Pandemic. And ironically, it was like the summer, it was a few years before our pandemic that we had. Has anybody seen or played this game before? For those that aren't competitive, this is your game. Because you work as a team of scientists, I slept since then a few times, so it's hard to remember the full scope of the game. But you work together, and there is a disease. You're all very familiar with a pandemic by now. There is a global disease that you need to find the cure and eradicate and get rid of. And you're working together, which is why I liked it, and it was kind of like a team-building thing of once you did it and you accomplished it, you felt good together. You weren't fighting one another to beat one another. It was a good cooperative game together. I thought this morning we could play a little bit of this game together on the screen. And I thought about doing handouts, but then I was like, I'll just put it on the screen and we can work together, or you can try to figure out the answer for yourself. What I'm going to do is allow you to be a team of scientists here, and I'm going to give you 3 diseases, and I want you to read over each one and find the one that you would say is the most dangerous disease, that you don't want getting out into the world, and is the one that we should find and locate, find cures, and eradicate. And then we'll work on the rest of the lesson. Whatever disease you come up with, I'm going to let you pick. Then we will try to eradicate whatever we got going on. There you go. If we can see that, I can also read it off to you. But you have disease A, B and C, and again, we're looking for the most dangerous here. Disease A, you see primary symptoms that's going on with you. If you have this, you have shortened attention span, difficulty being alone or quiet, constant mental noise and distraction, a lot of things going on in your head. You can't focus, and so you shy away from people. You can't stay focused on things. It's very hard for you. Other side effects, like I said, even in conversation with other people, there's just this disconnect, and you can't do that. Restlessness when you're inactive, dependence on external stimulation to feel normal, and so you need other things constantly to get that feeling of joy and happiness back. So that's disease A. Disease B, you have the primary symptoms, mood altering leading to sadness or numbness, and so you have sadness to the point where you're just numb to the world, random bursts of anger, so then you have anger, irritability in your life. You lose patience even with those that's closest to you, that love you the most, that you're around the most. You just have no patience for them. Maybe you lash out at them. Side effects as well that goes on with this one is increased comparison to others, not feeling enough with achievements, sleep disruption, mental exhaustion, a lot going on, a lot visually going on, and it's wrecking the brain. And then number C, here we go. The last one, primary symptoms, you have false sense of connection while increasing isolation. And so you feel, even when you're around people, you feel like you're around people, you feel apart from them. You crave this approval, this validation. You feel like you can't get enough of that. Anxiety when disconnected from updates, and so you're constantly feeling like you're out of the loop with things. Other side effects, this distorted self-image, and so you're not really seeing who you really are or have confusion of who you are. Side effects, reduced empathy and face-to-face relationships, and so you may have somebody that you're close to, that you're talking to, they're going through something, but you just have this disconnect, you just can't feel for them no longer. And then escalating need for more exposure over time. So this disease becomes more, I guess, of an addiction that you have and keeps you in the loop. So I feel like we've gone through it, talked through it. What are our thoughts? What do we think is the most dangerous in all of this? B? Anybody want to argue with B? Why B? I guess we'll start there. Why B? Unless you see through my deception and schemes. Okay, so B is, the others, are like, man, it hurts me, but you chose B because of its spreading ability. It hurts more than just me. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Anybody got any other thoughts? Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I say C is going into depression.
Okay. Back in the mental state. Also, you're getting a little bit of connectivity there with C, but even though you're connected, it still pushes you, like you said, to depression. Okay. Exactly. You see through my schemes here. These are all social media. These are all the effects that we see. These are all the effects of too much screen time, too much of what we talked about, comparisons, and now what we talk about with addictions to, man, I just can't put it down. Anytime there's a lull, I just have to get more. At the very end, you see escalating need for more exposure over time. I just can't get enough of this. These are all the same thing. They just all the different points that I wanted you to see, and y'all all hit them on the head correctly. They all hit different parts of you, whether it's the brain, and you're getting constant noise and distraction in your brain, and that's making you lash out, or it's your emotions that you see, and it's breaking you down from the inside, or it's the relationships that you have, whether it's, you may have relationships, but it's just hurting them and causing this disconnect and division between you. The twist is the most dangerous disease in the room and on the screen is one that we all carry with us, and we don't know that we're affected by it. More than that, it's one that constantly knocks at our front door and dings every few minutes and saying, hey, remember I'm still here. Remember to pick me up. Remember you need me. Remember to look at me. Remember there's things you don't know, and so you need to open me up and see what's going on. Remember there are things that people are saying that you need to know. And it's constantly fighting for your attention, and we constantly give it back to it. I already talked about Jason Helton. He made a good point about, and what we're going to talk about our next session. I'm not a doom and gloom guy. In this, I'm a realist where I just got to lay out the dangers for you. The positive side where our phones, our computers, I have 2 screens in front of me, 3 screens in front of me. Our tools, absolutely. But Jason made a good point that this is the only tool that is calling out to you constantly. My shovel that I shoveled my driveway with this past week or last week, I shoveled it. I threw it in my truck in case somebody needed it, or I needed to help get somebody in their house, or the church needed it, or I just threw it in my garage in a pile. And it's never going to call out to me. It's never going to ask me, hey, can we go do some more work? I've been in here for a week, and you haven't touched me. Like, come on, man. All my other tools stay in their toolbox, or not really in their toolbox. They're spread out, but I know exactly where they are because I'm in a room full of men. You know how that works. They're all spread out, but I know exactly where they are. But none of them call out to me. None of them are asking me for a date this afternoon. None of them are requiring me to talk to them and to get with them, but my phone does. And my phone is notifying me constantly. Even up here, it's probably gonna flash a couple things already of emails that I get, reminders, because I'm forgetful, of text messages, group messages that I'm in. They're talking about stuff, and it's constantly pushing back towards us. And over time, that grows to be an addiction. Last session, I showed a graph up of the anxiety and depression, and that ramps up and almost doubles or more than doubles the percentage of those who are depressed and have anxiety if they're more than 4 hours. And it's that line that doctors say if you, I think it's in here somewhere. I apologize. I think it's in here somewhere that I'll get to. But that level is far past a level for something becoming an addiction in our life. And so now we have, and Jason Haidt in his book, Anxious Generation, that is, exploding across our nation, that has shown us all of these effects of what's going on in our world and in our young people because of screens and because of tech. Now we see that we are still, even though we got out of it, we're still in a global epidemic or pandemic. We're still fighting a disease that we see that has so many symptoms, so much result and side effects, and so we have to find a cure. We have to fight to eradicate or at least dampen this disease. All of us were alive during the pandemic and remember, it wasn't that long ago that we can remember what life was like. What did we do? Well, a lot of us maybe stayed home, or our loved ones, the elderly, stayed home so that they couldn't get sick. Young people or our kids, young kids, babies, newborns, we kept them home away from dangerous scenarios. We covered up. We continually washed our hands. We stayed 6 feet away. We put all these parameters in place because there was a disease that we didn't want to get. But it's obvious now today there's still a disease going on worldwide. And what parameters have I set in place so that I don't attract it? So it doesn't kill me, so I don't get addicted to it and then live a life where I'm constantly under this oxygen tank called my phone. I know how it is because my dad was there for months on a tube because he got exposed to a disease that almost took his life. And now teenagers, kids, adults, people are now, their lives are taken away from them because of the pandemic called technology and social media. And so what parameters are we putting in place? Because this is a global epidemic that has become an addiction for far too many and has affected so many and taken so many lives. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy said this about the world that we live in. Children are exposed to harmful content on social media, ranging from violent and sexual content to bullying and harassment. And for far too many children, social media use is compromising their sleep and valuable in-person time with family and friends. We are in the middle of a national youth mental health crisis, and I'm concerned that social media is an important driver of that crisis, one that we must urgently address. Our U.S. Surgeon General is saying, look, we got an epidemic, and we got to set parameters and address it right now before it takes far too many lives that it already has. So then we ask the question, what's the source? Because there's a lot of people we can point fingers at and blame. And the first one that I want to point at is myself. Man, that's real small. But that's okay. I'll walk through it with you. First question I got to ask is, am I at fault? Can I take some responsibility here this morning and say, is it my fault that this has become an addiction in my life? Do I need to take that responsibility and say that this morning? Got a couple quotes from this study, from this social media and youth mental health advisory in this study of teenagers and what they're dealing with. It says, teens who use social media more than 3 hours a day face double the risk of depression and anxiety symptoms, which is particularly concerning given that the average amount of time that kids use social media is 3.5 hours a day. So we're getting close to that 4 hours that we talked about earlier, and that leads to addiction and continual use that we see in the second circle at the bottom. So it's constantly increasing. Social media can, perpetrate. I practice that, but I still get it wrong every time. Body dissatisfaction, disordered eating behaviors, social comparison, and low self-esteem. Exactly back to the side effects and things that we talked about earlier, that it pushes all of these things, all these negative effects. And then in this study, they said, we talked to kids and teens to tell us 3 things that social media does. Number 1, it said that it makes them feel worse about themselves. Number 2, it says it makes them feel worse about their relationships or friendships. And number 3, despite all of that, despite viewing and knowing those effects and knowing that it's harmful, I can't seem to get off of it. I can't seem to put it down. I can't help the fact that I have it around. So the bottom line is, we do not have enough evidence. Well, this is what they said at the bottom of this. I think this is actually coming from the Surgeon General. The bottom line is, we do not have enough evidence to conclude that social media is, in fact, sufficiently safe for our kids. He's saying there's not enough for me to say that you should even have this, that I don't even think this is safe. I think this is something that could take a life. I think this is something that is absolutely harmful. We see these other, off to the side, and I'll read these off to you really quick. Well, these go over to the body dissatisfaction. The study of teens said that 95 of them use social media. We saw that in the 5.2 billion that are users of social media. But then under that, how often do you use it? Almost half, 40% said, I'm on it constantly, almost constantly. I can't put it down. I have it on me nonstop. 60% said, it's not constantly, but I'm on it a good amount. That I have it pretty often or frequently, which is concerning. So, are we at fault here? Let's talk about this graphic that I love to look at, because it really breaks down visually what we're talking about here as far as time. TED Talk not long ago did a study of, you take an 18-year-old and expect them to live until around 90, this is how much time they have left in their life. And we see the breakdown of that Each bubble is a month, and so each row is a year, 3 years. And so you get down to, well, sleep takes up roughly 288 months, some less, some more. I have a 3-year-old, so sometimes it looks like a lot less. And then you have work and school that we're stuck in. That takes up, in that time period, again, we're talking 18 to 90 years old, how much time you have left. Out of that, whether you go to college, go to grad school, whatever, working throughout your life, that's going to take up, in total, 126 months of the rest of your life. Driving back and forth, and I feel like I've already hit my 18 months of driving total, and I'm about to turn 30, which is concerning, but this study said 18 months of the rest of your life will be in driving. Under that will be eating and cooking. That will take 36 months. Chores and other errands that you have to do. You have to go pick up something at Walmart, shopping at Walmart, or things around the house, cleaning, all of that. Going to take another 36 months to do all that. And then here's a big one for us guys. Bathroom and hygiene. Hopefully we're hitting that 27 months of good hygiene. Taking showers, brushing our teeth, all that good stuff. Going to take 27 months. Good news is now you have, let's say about 40%, a third of your life, which is open to free time, open to 334 months of total time that you have to do whatever you want. You can go to the movies. You can go hang out with friends. You can read a book. However you want to spend that free time, it's open to you as long as it doesn't fit in other things, like driving or eating. Free time open to you. Compare this, and what they did is took this graph and said, here's how much time an 18 to 90-year-old has left, or at the time of 18, here's how much time they have left. And they said, looking at the statistics of how much we're on our phones and how much screen time we're taking in, they uncovered that 312 months will be spent on our screens, whether that's sitting in front of a TV, whether that's sitting in front of a computer, whether that's on your phone, on a tablet, whatever that may be, that your screen has robbed you of a life. And that now you look, I know, I'm impressed too. And now you look and have just a little over 2 years left of free time because your screen has taken 312 months of your life away as an adult. It's robbing us, and we see, okay, and ask the question and be responsible. Is it my fault that this has become an addiction? Will I continue to allow these studies to continue to go up and be a part of that agenda that, hey, screen time will take away my life? Is it my fault? I think we can agree that partly yes, but I also want to bring another factor into play and make you aware of the enemy and people that don't care about you, if we're being honest. Is it the fault of big tech companies? And here we're talking about those that are listed in that first sentence of Meta, which is Facebook, Instagram, talking about TikTok and Snap, those companies, talking about Google, which is Google and YouTube, all of those coming together. And we're looking at what's going on out west right now and have been going on for the past few weeks of what we're calling the youth addiction trials. And all of these families coming together that have lost a child to suicide or just lost them in general because they're no longer their child anymore because they're so addicted to something that one of these companies has put out or that this company is a part of in their life, a valid part of their life, and they're saying, look, this is what my child's life looks like now, or I no longer have a child because of what your company has done. And so all of these families are now bonding together and suing these large companies because they're wanting to see their evidence and what they're putting together to make Facebook and make Instagram and make TikTok. And they're showing that all of these companies are prioritizing and designing and they're designing things that are addictive and harmful for minors. The quote under it is from, they don't have a name, they're anonymous, but one of the user experience specialists for Instagram was quoted saying, this was in a text message to their colleague, and so this wasn't like, hey, I'm telling this to the world. This was like secretive information that has come out because of these trials, and they're going into emails and figuring all this stuff out of, is Instagram, is YouTube, is TikTok making things with the knowledge that, hey, I'm making this so that you can be addicted, so that you can use it more, so that we can get more money. And this person that is a specialist in making sure that people stay on their app said, in IG, Instagram is a drug. We're basically pushers, like drug pushers, pushing this in front of people. We're causing reward deficit disorder because people are bringing Instagram binging Instagram so much that they can't feel reward anymore. That we're giving them, and we're designing an app that gives small rewards at a time so that they can't put it down, and when they don't have Instagram in their life, nothing else satisfies them anymore. Nothing else feels a reward anymore. The quote at the bottom, this is the executive director of this tech oversight project that's a part of these trials, talking about Snap or Snapchat and their push, and a couple others have said, we're just going to settle, we're just going to pay a bunch of money so that we don't have to continue in these trials, whereas others like Instagram are continuing to be studied and fall under pressure from these trials. Snapchat and a couple others have said, we'll just give you a lot of money so you leave us alone and don't look anymore into what we're doing. And they said, this executive director said, you don't settle, you don't do that unless you don't want that stuff to be public. The public doesn't really know what is coming or what is about to be uncovered with all of these trials. In all of this, like I said, I want us to know what we're up against. Because, yeah, I think I can take some responsibility, and I absolutely have to take some responsibility and say, it's absolutely my fault that I can't put my phone down. But also, we need to take responsibility and say, there's people that are spending and gaining millions and billions of dollars to study you and your brain and how it works, and saying, look, I want to make money as a major company, and to do that, I need to make sure that you stay in my app, and I'll do whatever I need to do to get there. And all these trials are exposing that they're caring for money. They don't care about having you. They don't care if you have a clean feed, whether you post your scripture readings, whether you're writing down and doing stuff. All they care about is, what are our numbers looking like? In this, I didn't put it up here, but an interesting quote that we saw through these trials was, every time a family came forward and said, look, you're making products that are intentionally addictive, they said, no, we're just pushing for, they substituted, they wouldn't use the word addiction or addictive product. They said, no, we're pushing for engagement. We want engagement. We want you to stay engaged, and they won't use the word addiction. I looked this up before coming here, what our net worth was in these companies, to see how much they're able to pay for and spend in these studies to study you and your brain and how our brains work and how to keep us involved. Apple, does anybody want to put a figure out here of Apple's net worth? And I'll give you a hint. It's the same as Google. That's not a hint at all. But Apple and Google have the same net worth. Anybody want to guess what kind of dollar sign that is?
A whole lot.
It's a whole lot. More than I can count. A number that doesn't even seem real, $4 trillion is how much Apple is worth, how much Google is worth. I think you could pay 1% of that, a fraction of that, for some scientists to sit down and say, I'll dedicate my life for this much money to study the teenage brain and to ensure that Instagram, Facebook, and Google, all these things can put forward a product, and I can promise you that they won't put it down. And that's exactly what is going on. Well, another quote is, that I didn't put on the screen. Social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram use vivid colors, specific sounds, and infinite scrolling. Has anybody, raise your hand, have you ever reached the bottom of Facebook or the bottom of TikTok or the bottom of Reels before? No, because it doesn't exist. Because they're saying, look, it's endless. You can learn and see as much as you want, and we'll just give you as much as you want. This infinite and endless scrolling to make their platforms more appealing. There's more and more and more for you to see, so come on in and see it. They're designed to be satisfying and easy to spend time on. That's why I get on my phone and I'm like, hey, I'm going to text my wife really quick. And then I'm like scrolling for like 20 minutes. And I was like, what happened? Because it's easy to do that. Experts say that these platforms trigger the reward circuit system and release dopamine in our brains. And there's where we're going to go next. I'm not a scientist, and I did not, sorry if you are a scientist brain, I did not like science as when I was in school as a high schooler. But this is very interesting, the study and the chemical of dopamine. Tried to do the best with my non-scientific mind to explain what it is, but it's basically this chemical in the brain that acts as your reward system. This is what makes you feel good when you do something good. You get this feeling of happiness or pleasure when you do something enjoyable. And so when you feel good about something, you're like, I want to do that again. I want that again. I'm going to chase after that again. That's why we like so many games that like are grinding games. And like we do a little bit, and then like we get some coins, and we do a little bit, and then we get a little bit more. We like get the next like whatever it is, the next like armor or whatever. Like, I don't know, I'll play a lot of like fighting games or whatever. And so it's like, you do this and you unlock this next level of armor and things like that. That's all centered around this reward system. And what apps do is, well, keep you logged on and scrolling to give you these hits of these dopamine to make you never want to put it down. I enjoy it. Oh, this is exciting. And then I scroll a little bit more and I see something else that I really like. And it's these hits that we get. I put more down here. I put skins. I'm with the cool crowd. I know the kids. I'm a kid. I'm a youth. I know what's going on. I don't. But you see things like bright colors maybe whenever you leave out of here or right here. I'm doing it. I'm a product of what I'm putting forward of. I'm going to use bright colors and things that look nice because I want to keep you engaged. Flashing lights, things that look nice. We already talked about the alerts that constantly pop up. Algorithms that adjust to like, hey, this person said one thing about golf. And so now they will only see golf on their feed for the rest of their life or whatever it is. That's a good analogy. It's bad whenever it's like you mentioned something dumb and then now your algorithm is just that for the rest of life. Or in our group, we have a friend that's like, if they send something, it's just like brain rot stuff, and it's like, don't open it because then it's gonna mess up everything. But then you have that endless quantity, that scrolling constantly, new levels, achievements, power-up skins, all that stuff. Constantly hits this dopamine, provides more. What's the effects of that constantly happening in our life? Two things that I put up here: learned helplessness, if I can talk, helplessness, which is this constant and easy desire to give up. And sadly, as somebody that works with teenagers, and I'm glad to see that nobody here struggles with this, I just feel like kids give up so easily. And I feel like that's maybe why the older generation gets so annoyed with the younger generation. Because like my dad's generation is like, my dad's just so like hard-nosed, hard-headed. Like he's just gonna work until like he dies. And like I just feel like things nowadays, like we just give up so easily, and it's this learned helplessness of social media has shown you how everyone else is more athletic and more good, and there's somebody always better than you. We've already talked about comparisons. And so it's like, why even try? Why even try to be smart? Why even try to study and learn and better myself? Because I'm not going to be the best. And so it's like this learned helplessness that we have. Also with this dopamine addiction that we get from social media and things, when we put it down, we have this deficiency, that the real world, now that I'm outside and things take longer for me to get and are harder for me to get, then it's like I don't want it. The real world doesn't reward as quickly as my phone does or as this game does, and so naturally, like I don't want to be a part of it. And so I get annoyed when things don't go as quickly, or people don't move as quickly, or people aren't on the same page as me. And then I'm upset with them, but I lose my motivation and energy. I lose sleep because I'm so depressed and so angry at the world, because it's not like the perfect world that I've built for myself online. So here we see these effects. Go more into, and that was focusing on dopamine, effects of, well, what about this addiction that we have to this tech or social media? Number one, we see up there the perfectly created false reality, that I'm only putting on Facebook the things that I want people to know me for and see. Two things with that, and sadly we see this a lot happen in life, is when people make this false reality for themselves. Online, I am perfect. I am who I want to be. Online, Lucas doesn't mess up. They're not weird like he is, and all of these things. So what happens whenever I'm in the real world and things don't go as well and I do mess up? Well, number one, then, I'm not used to it because I've created this person that doesn't mess up online with my friends, gaming, or on social media, on my phones. I've created in my head this person that is perfect because I've put so much perfection out that when I do mess up, I'm like, that's not me. I'm not used to it, so I take no accountability. Or on the opposite side, when I do mess up, I'm not used to that, and so failure becomes so much bigger. We're so bad at failing nowadays because we've created this false reality of perfection that when we fail, it hurts, and it's so much more devastating. Secondly, we have this fear of missing out now, that we're always carrying this weight that somebody else is having a better time than me, somebody else is more successful or better than me, this fear of missing out. We've also talked about this jealousy spiral, this poor self-esteem leading to jealousy, leading to resentment, leading to hatred and depression. And then when all of this starts to happen, I got to get some feelings out somehow. So I start eating. Have y'all ever eaten your feelings? I remember in college when my high school girlfriend broke up to me because I went off to college, and my coping was a jar of applesauce. I don't know why. It was just applesauce. I liked applesauce because I guess I'm a child, and it wasn't all in that wooden setting. Don't think I'm weird. But I was like, that was weirdly a coping thing. But it's like, that's not good, and I recognize that. Other coping that we see, and that's why we see eating disorders like that, whether it's eating a lot or feeling like I refuse to eat because I don't look like the way I want to look like, seclusion and stepping away, being a loner, all those sorts of things. And I know there's introverts, but far surpassing that. That's where we start to see substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, smoking, things like that, to cope with the feelings that we have. And then going further than that, self-harm, cutting or burning yourself, or having any sort of pain or suicidal thoughts with that harmful coping. Let's talk about what makes an addiction really quick, and then we're going to break out of these addictions as we close with time. Okay. What makes an addiction? I'll summarize this. Basically, they did a study a few years ago and said, hey, is there a certain person, is there a type A kind of person that is suitable for addictions? And what they found, and I underlined it, that they didn't find that there was one person that has an addictive personality. Which means, I say all that to say, and I put all that up there to say, all of us are tempted by this and can fall into this category really quickly. Even the Pharisees here in John chapter 8, in almost a satirical way, putting their foot in their mouth in John chapter 8, say they have no clue of what reality is in this moment. This is after Jesus is talking about how he's the light of the world. He's trying to bring truth to them, all of these things. He said to the Jews who had believed him, if you abide in my word, you're truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and truth will set you free. He's trying to bring freedom to their life, away from the slavery of sin that they have and that they found in their lives. Verse 33, and they answered him, no, we're the offspring of Abraham, and we've never been enslaved to anyone. So why would you say that you'll make me free when I've never been enslaved? which is so wrong, is it not? I mean, how much slavery have the Jews seen in their history? Through, well, I made a list of it, and we talked about a couple already this morning. Through Egypt and the Philistines, under Babylon, Persia, Syria, and now are they not under the threat of Rome during this time that Jesus is looking at them in the face? And they're saying, we're not slaves. We've never been slaves. We don't even know what that means. And he's saying, you have been slaves before. You know what it means, and there's a far worse slavery because truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. And the slave doesn't remain in the house forever. The son remains forever. So if the son sets you free, you'll be free indeed. He's saying, yes, you know slavery. You've been there before. You've seen bondage in your life before, in your history, and even now. But even worse than that, there is sin that is clinging on to you. And only the Son, only Christ, can set us free from these addictions and from this life of sin. There's some signs of addiction that we can that I want to make us known of, and maybe you fall under any of these categories. I think you already, and I knew this was going to happen, of like you come into a place like this and you have a break in 2 minutes and you say, okay, that's a little bit of downtime. I'm standing here and I'm going to pull out my phone and look at it because I don't know what else to do, because that's just my draw. That's my compulsion. Maybe you have some separation anxiety when, oh man, I left my phone, and I would rather be late and go get my phone than to be separated from it. It hurts me. Maybe you spend too much time doing something on your computer, on your game, on your phone, that like homework, other work, responsibilities fall to the wayside. These are all signs that, hey, maybe I've become addicted in my life to this. I'm going to roll through these very quickly. Number one, recognize your triggers and recognize like what is triggering your addiction. My father-in-law is a medical doctor and a preacher, so I get to use him for a lot of things. And he talked about this mental help of these spots and thoughts notes of any time you fall into temptation and sin, and he talks about it with addiction on the medical side, is anytime you're overcome with these feelings of temptation and you give into your addiction, write down spots where you were, who you were with, what you were doing, and then thoughts. What was going on in your head? What were you feeling? What was going on? And I think a lot of it is, well, what are spots and thoughts when it comes to addiction to our phones, to social media, to tech? Where am I? Okay, I'm in a awkward situation and a newbie in front of all of these guys, and here I am, and I'm thinking, I don't know who to talk to, but I know my phone, and so I'm going to grab my phone. And so I can write things like that down and keep this journal of spots and thoughts. And then what do I do with those? Then I say, I don't want to put myself in these positions, and when I'm thinking these thoughts, I want to be aware of those so I don't fall into those addictions. So making a plan to break free from this pandemic. Number two, very personal to whatever is going on with you. No-go zone, so have areas in your life, maybe they're specific spots, maybe they're just times where you say, I'm not going to be on my phone, I'm not going to do tech at this time. Maybe it's every 30 minutes before I go to bed, I'm gonna put my phone away before bed. Maybe it's focused on the family. I've been distant from my family and I don't want to be that person. And so at meal times or when we're sitting together as a family, I'm not going to look at my phone. We may sit there in silence, but I'm not going to do it because I'm going to be present with one another. Maybe it's, and this goes with other temptations that we have relating to the dangers of online. Maybe I'm moving my phone away from times where I just find myself scrolling. So away from my bed, away from the couch, plugging it in across the room and things like that. Having areas where I'm going to say, I'm not going to have my phone here, and that makes it better. Make your phone ugly. We talked about that. Hey, big tech companies are attacking you by using your brain against you, by making things look pretty and be attractive. Well, don't let them do that. Cut your notifications. Don't let Facebook keep reminding you that these people are doing these things, or that, hey, you haven't checked in, you haven't done this. Get rid of those notifications. Switch to grayscale. You can do that in your settings on your phone, where literally everything there, I mean, I'm looking at my PowerPoint right here in front of me, and everything's all colorful. If I switch to grayscale, it will black and white everything. And now does Instagram look as appealing? No. Now I'm like, oh, this is boring to me, and so I'll put it down. There's also other people are aware of our addictions now, and so they want to make aids to remove those from us. So there's a Brick, which is a company that have come out with something that I don't have one, so I don't know how it works. I have a friend that has one, but it sets this screen time limit. Your phone can set screen time limits. There's other apps that will shut down your phone or shut down certain apps on your phone for you to not access because you've gone too far. Replacement therapy, I don't want to say cut things out of your life and then just sit there in your chair in your room and stare at the wall, but replace those times with, I'm going to set my phone here and I'm going to pick up this hobby, or I'm going to do this instead. Replace things instead of just cutting things. Because when we just cut it, then we leave a hole and we're going to fill it with something. And we're going to fill it with what we probably took out of it. And so cut that out and then fill it with something better. And there goes the necessary cuts there. I should have put this before the other one, before the replacement. We see this in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus says, hey, if there's something in your life that is causing you to sin, get rid of it. Is it saying really cut off your arm? Do you really need to pluck out your eye? No, but he's showing you the seriousness that he wants you to take with your spiritual life. If there's something that is causing you to run away from God, cut it away. And then number 6, you don't have to do it alone. You do not have to do it alone. With this and everything else, you do not have to do it alone. There was a study from all the way back, and I pulled it to this slide because I wanted you to know that you're not alone. 80% of parents said that they are extremely comfortable to talking to their teen about their mental health. Almost every parent said, I would love to talk to my child. I would love to talk to you about your mental health if you're struggling. I'm guessing that the 20% of those that said no, that they're not comfortable, they just feel doubt of, I'm just not skilled in that or knowledgeable about mental health, and so I don't want to mess anything up. So that's just out of fear, is that 20%. But then 52% of teens, so half, said that they feel comfortable or that they think that their parents feel comfortable. And so we see that we have backing from our parents, from one another. Even in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, we see, hey, 2 are better than 1 because we're going to fall down and we need other people to pick us up. Yes, we need to pick up, we need to take responsibility and do things for ourselves and cut some things out of our life and do the things that are necessary to remove ourselves from this pandemic and epidemic in our life. But we don't have to do it alone. There's going to be people here to help us, apps that we can even use to help us, other ways that we can use to help us. And then in the next session, we'll talk about, okay, now after all the doom and gloom of how bad your phone is, let's talk about how we can use it for good. Let's replace some of these negative things with some good things that we can do. Let's work together to lift one another up and to find ways to encourage one another and bless one another in what we're doing. So, all right.
All right, we're going to take another 15-minute break, so we'll come back at about 11:05 for our third and final session, and then after that session, we will have lunch. Dismissed.